welcome to Business Today. I'm Siddharth Zarabi, and joining me now is Saugata Shah, the president of S&P Global Market Intelligence and the chief data officer. Congratulations for your role change between the time we met last and now, and therefore with that switch, I really want to focus on the big running theme, which is AI everywhere. And I want to get you to talk about the top couple of trends that you are picking up right here at the top of 2026.
Thank you, Siddharth. I'm delighted to be here. And AI is clearly at least one of the top 2 or 3 topics at Davos this year. I'd say there's 2 big themes that's on everyone's minds. One is, how do we scale up AI? AI has been around, for in its current form, generative AI for the last 2-3 years, and everyone's wondering, how do we go from a mode of experimentation, proof of concept, to scaling it up where it has real impact across companies and businesses. The second big theme on AI is definitely around data. How do we make sure that we have enough data to run these models effectively? As we know, the AI models are only as good as the data you feed them, and that's the second big question on everyone's minds. There's a third question, which is around cost and capital expenditures, and how does this all become profitable? And that's also something on everybody's mind. So I don't think as many people are talking about it explicitly.
We've been speaking a lot about that to all our guests. And can I dive in on that point straight away? Tell me, in your experience, and because you are a data person and insights person, what insight can you share us with regard to the ROI that corporations and enterprises who have invested on AI solutions implementation have achieved so far?
So I'll give you 2 perspectives there. One is, if you look at the macro big picture, what's happening with AI-related capital investments across the world, in particular in the United States, there's a lot of CapEx being spent. The revenues that are related to that CapEx don't really drive a return on that CapEx. So, which effectively means that over a long period of time, you'll see the cost of these services expand a lot. There will be productivity, but these costs will definitely expand. Think of it as the early days of Uber. That $10 ride or that 100 rupee ride wasn't really reflective of the true economics of the service. It was equity holders subsidizing the service. But over time, that price will increase. So you'll see the same thing happen with large language models and the cost of tokens, etc. You will see a secular increase in that price. The second is the productivity related to AI. That is real, especially in knowledge-intensive businesses. Late last year, we had an investor day for the company. We talked to investors about, where the company is going, etc. One of the things we openly acknowledged is that some of the margin expansion you're seeing in our businesses is driven by productivity, partly driven by artificial intelligence, because it is real. A person who could do a certain amount of work in a certain amount of time can now do a lot more work in that same amount of time, which means there's a productivity improvement. And companies who are smart about how they deploy AI, and the deployment of AI really isn't just a technological problem today. It's a social problem. It's a change management problem. And if a company can get the technological deployment, the social deployment, and the change management aspect of it correct, there are real productivity gains to be benefited.
So, large organizations struggle with every new technology adoption. Is there a struggle also that runs as a theme across with respect to AI?
Yeah, there's definitely a struggle, and I'll tell you a little about what we are doing at S&P Global to kind of overcome that and make sure that this productivity is real, and what I think others should be doing as well. The first is just making sure that the tools are available to the right people so that they can deploy them in their work. The second is, there's a learning challenge, which is make sure people are trained adequately and appropriately on the responsible and ethical and productive use of these technologies. Without all those 3 things, responsible, ethical, and productive, it doesn't work. And in large organizations like ours, we have 40,000 people across the organization. It takes a fair amount of effort to make sure that everybody is trained on all of this in a rapid period of time. And then the third thing is, there's a big social component to this, or change management component to this, which is to get employees, customers, stakeholders outside the company comfortable with this new technology. What does it mean? What does it do? What it can't do? And then make sure there's broad-based adoption, and trying to do just one of these pillars, just making the tools available without the appropriate change management or the training, or just doing training without the tools, generally doesn't work. And I don't think in this new AI-driven revolution, that's also not going to work.
You use the word AI-driven revolution. Which sectors are actually witnessing a revolution, and which sectors are still kind of unsure about how much this can help them?
So I'd say two things there, Siddharth. One is every company in the world will be impacted by AI in different ways and in different forms, right? It's like, there's this old adage, every company in the world is an energy company, because if you're not producing energy, you're consuming energy, right? And the futures and the fortunes of the energy business impact every business. Similarly, every business will be impacted by AI. I think the first series of businesses you see who will benefit or not be disrupted by by AI will be knowledge intensive businesses where what's essentially being produced is IP. But there's literally no reason to believe that in the near future a company which is even manufacturing something like cement can't create positive differentiated value by leveraging AI in a way that some of their competitors can't. So I think the application of AI in different business contexts is limited pretty much by people's imaginations. And it's up to the leadership of the company and the business to really think about how they can deploy AI in a way that they can create a differentiation versus their competitors and deliver more value to their customers.
I want an insight from you with respect to India. One of the debates that we have been having there and in India is the path to take. If the US and China have done what they have done in AI, India has also been trying. There's a 5-stack approach, and the government has made that clear at Davos. What, according to you, is perhaps the most appropriate approach that you expect India to follow?
So I'd say if you look at what's happening with AI in the world, there are 3 key components you need to be successful. And nobody has all 3 of them in abundance, right? You need the hardware, the chips. You need energy, vast amounts of it, cheap energy to run that hardware. And then third is you need intellectual property, data, and talent, right? I'm putting all 3 of those in the same bucket. And if you look at different parts of the world, different things are in abundance in different places, right? China certainly has an incredible energy grid. They can move power and electrons across their whole grid nationally, quickly, cheaply, etc. United States, by far the leader in terms of chip technology. India's advantage certainly is in terms of talent and the talent base it has and the ability to create software. And India should really be looking to see how that can be deployed as a creative and competitive edge in the global AI battle, which is going to go on for the next several decades.
And who will be the ultimate winner or winners in that battle?
That's really hard to say. I don't think this is a winner takes all or a single winner model. I think people will carve different paths to success. You leverage what you have, you find ways to substitute what you don't have, and you create the future. And, I think every country has to be nimble about how they do it and really leverage what they have and find ways and paths to success. And I'm particularly bullish. We have large operations in India. We run some of our largest global capability centers in India. The talent there and their ability to harness AI has been incredible. And the one thing I will say is that, and this is important in the context of a country like India, people talk about the future as humans versus machines. And I think the future is not humans versus machines. The future is humans versus humans with machines, right? And I keep telling our teams that the future is not one where we don't have data analysts. The future is one where we don't have data analysts who can leverage technology. We don't have software engineers who can't leverage technology. And India already has all of the IP workers you need in the world. And I think the question is, how do they re-engineer their workflows to leverage technology in a way that just technology can't do the work? And I think there's a very bright future there.
Absolutely, Saugata. There is so much to unpack. We live in a fascinating world. A world there is constant change, technological change, trade disruption, geopolitical disruption. We have witnessed that play out pretty much for the past 1 year. But we focus this conversation, viewers, on AI with Saugata Shah, and hopefully you must have picked up something. I like that last description: humans versus humans. Those who have that technology in their hand. So basically, varying degrees of smartness and their application. Saugata, thank you very much for your time with us today. With that, it's a wrap on this conversation. We'll be back with more. Until then, goodbye.